Thank you all for joining us today for an update on the 2022 May primary election in Clackamas County. I want to provide a quick update on the county's staffing response to this need of processing ballots. So far, 200 individual county employees have signed up to take a shift to process the ballots. Today on campus, we have about 120 people who will be here throughout the day processing ballots. Clerk Sherry Hall will provide more information on staffing and how we will get this work done. The clerk will make some statements and then we will take some questions at the end. I'll turn it over to you, Clerk Hall.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank the Clackamas County voters and candidates for their patience as we continue to process ballots. My thought is that the worst part is for the candidates who are having to wait so long. But I also want to appreciate to my commissioners and to our county administrator, Gary Schmidt, for providing additional people and logistical support so we can count every vote on time, because that is what we will do. My office has been in coordination with the Secretary of State, and we really appreciate her reassurance to voters earlier today with the message she put out. Our priority is to count every vote. Now that we have processes in place to ensure more people can we have more people that can process ballots, and we can now strive to meet the Secretary's request for a report and a timeline. Yesterday, we were made aware of a complaint that came from 2 CD5 observers. Actually, I'm not sure if it's 2 or 1. We're taking that complaint very seriously. No one should ever be let's see, before yesterday, nobody should have ever been in our area to observe at 7 or before, because we weren't starting that early on the other days. We've been asked for the public record request of all the login sheets for the observers, which we'll be submitting to the requester of those sheets. Today, workers are opening new ballots to prepare for tally, and there will be 2 shifts each day, both days of the weekend, to prepare ballots for duplication. There's some preparation work before you actually start duplicating, and that will be done. Clark County, Washington, Marion County, and Washington County, Oregon have offered to help us, and we will be accepting their offers. And the Secretary of State's office will also be supplying some workers. To accommodate the large number of additional staff, we've opened another room of similar size and space to accommodate the additional staff. There's also observation windows in that room. The observers will have to be outside, but there are awnings next to the windows to keep you dry if it's raining. So you might want to dress warmer if that's the kind of weather it is. The updates to our results will be posted every night at 7 p.m. And last night's update added additional ballots. The first night, election day, the results only showed about 10,500 ballots, but now the number is up to 27,342. And again, candidates, I know that's low and I'm sorry, but we will get it done and you'll get your results. If you have any questions, I'm ready to do that.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Hall. I do see a number of hands up, and we will start with Genevieve Reaume with K2. Genevieve, can you please unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you for taking our questions. We appreciate it. This is, a little bit of a different type of question, but what we're wondering is, will the county attempt to get its money back from whichever organization or company you worked with that printed these ballots? And will you change vendors next time?
All of that is in discussion. For me, I just need to make sure this election gets done accurately and on time. And there's other people in the county that can work on those issues. But at this time, I'm not asking questions. I'm just letting them do their work.
Okay, up next is Pat Dooris with KGW. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Pat.
Thank you. Clerk Hall, I'm wondering about when you ran your logic and accuracy test. Can you tell us what date and what were the results of that, please?
Okay, the logic and accuracy test was run on May 3rd, which is the day we start opening ballots. Our Secretary of State's office allowed us to start opening a week earlier than normal. It's always been 1 week before Election Day, the Tuesday before Election Day. But this year we were allowed to do it 2 weeks before Election Day, which is what we did. And that was also the logic and accuracy test. We always do that test on the day we start opening. And those ballots were printed here, not by the printer. They were perfect. There's some timing issues with some things that go into building a ballot and having everything ready for ballots to be printed for the logic and accuracy. And basically, we've always done that in office. So those ballots were good and the test turned out perfect, but it was after that, the same morning, that we started putting ballots through the scanners from the printer, and that's when we noticed the problem.
Okay, thank you for the question, Pat. Up next is Tim Gordon with KGW. Tim, will you please unmute yourself?
Hello. Good morning. Ms. Hall, Secretary of State, part of her statement today said that you did not respond with urgency over the past 2 weeks. So I'd ask you to respond to that. And also she's asking for a written plan and a timeline. When will you provide that to her?
I actually talked to the state election director this morning and we talked about those things. I didn't respond to this with the urgency that I should have, and I realize that, but I still know that we will have the counting done on time. This was something we'd never seen before, and so some of it, I guess, is just the reaction and the learning. But I now know that we should have done it probably the next day, and we would have been in place with probably additional workers at the end of that week. But I didn't, so this is where we are, and I can't change that. But with what the Secretary of State's office wants with our planning, it's basically the number of workers we have and how long it takes to do each piece, which we need to time. And we will do that, but we haven't done it yet. And let's see, today's Friday, so we aren't going to be duplicating ballots until Monday. And so we need to time it and do some, more than just one, but do several ballots and maybe different tables that are doing them, because everyone works at different speeds. And what we need to come up with is just the average speed per ballot. And we will hopefully have all of that information to her by Monday. And I think probably, maybe everybody that's looking at what we're doing with how long it's taking, it would make you more relaxed about it too.
Can I ask, is my mic still on?
Yes.
But Ms. Hall, you did say that you will get this done by June 13th. Can you guarantee that without really knowing yet how it's going to go?
I do want to guarantee it. There's workers here now, and some of them were talking about that very subject in their break, and there's different ideas, but the required deadline is June 13th. Don't be surprised if we get it done earlier, but that is the required deadline.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is Lisa Balick with Coin. Lisa, please unmute yourself.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Clerk Hall, a couple questions. Knowing before that there was a big problem that would need a lot of help, why did you refuse the help? Because again, at this point, I mean, you've been working there for decades. At this point, people will be quite stunned to find out that the ballot process won't even start in terms of the replacement ballots until almost a week after Election Day.
Okay, could you please just state the question?
Why didn't you just say yes initially to the help that was offered? Why wouldn't you just say yes?
I needed to check with the people in the county that can approve that. First of all, our temporaries and another county's temporaries are hired through a temporary agency who also does the criminal background check. And there's some other things that have to be done. And our agency tells us it takes about a week to get it all in place for them to work here. But now our county basically is directly hiring the new help that comes from outside of our county as temporary county workers. So I guess it was the logistics of everything to know exactly what I could do and how it had to be done. But that is totally all planned or all figured out now. And I have the forms I need, and we should be full. We have 2 rooms. Today, 1.5 about are filled, but we should have full 2-room shifts each day after today, after the weekend, actually.
What's the estimated cost? I'm sure you've talked to the county administrator. There's some ballpark figure for this ballot mistake.
I don't have any cost at all. I haven't looked at that. We do, you know, I never overspend my budget, and with elections, you have to plan for things that don't always happen. We have 4 elections per year, but as last year we had a recall, that could happen anytime. And so we asked for extra money in our budget to cover that. And I'm assuming, since we didn't spend it as we thought we might, that it could cover part of this or maybe all of it. I really don't know, because we won't know the total cost for this until it's done. And as far as any election goes, we bill the election out it has to be done 45 days after Election Day. So that's when we should know the cost of this election, or before, as we're working on those numbers.
Up next is Simon Gutierrez with KPTV. Simon?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you address the complaint by Jamie McLeod Skinner's campaign that they were not able to have their observers observe the counting of ballots, but her opponent's team was able to observe?
That is what I mentioned in my opening statement. I said that yesterday we were made aware of a complaint that came from CD5 observers, because that is the race that there was representatives from 2 separate candidates. And I know what the complaint is about, as far as one was allowed in the observer area at 7 and one not until after 8:30, which is our opening time for our office. But on that day, we weren't here at 7 o'clock. And the door to this building that everybody comes in, you know, my office is on the 1st floor, and there's a couple of other offices. One has quite a few employees, and I'm not sure about the other one, but we all come in that door, and it's possible that someone used their badge to get in and someone else might have followed them in. And if someone asked about elections, it could have been of a person that doesn't work in the elections office, because the standard now, because our building is badge access only and it's very secure, and even some of the people that had access before don't have it anymore. But if someone in another office doesn't know our requirements, wrong information could have been given. And when you go to the front door here, it's not open till 8:30. And again, I don't know how someone got in at 7 on the day that's being talked about. We don't know yet. We're going to be submitting the requested information, and I'm sure it'll be investigated.
Well, would you consider that a relatively serious breach of security?
Of security to the building?
Of security to the elections process?
No, because every election process is very secure. Only election staff have badges to get into those areas.
Thank you.
Up next is Sara Cline with the Associated Press.
Hi, yeah, I have 2 questions. The first one is about ballots. I'm just wondering how many you have received thus far and how many you estimate have been affected at this point.
Well, we won't know how many are affected until every single ballot has been fed through the scanning machine, because the batch is fed through and the number that it rejects are the ones that are removed from the batch for duplication. It's between 70 and 80 ballots per batch of 125, which is about 2/3 of our ballots.
Okay, and how many have you received? Sorry.
Excuse me?
How many have you received so far?
Okay, did you look at the results page?
I think so.
Okay, it's on there. I don't have that in front of me. I would have to look it up.
Okay, and then my other question was about the printer. I was told from the Secretary of State that you guys are the only county that uses this printer. I was just wondering how you chose them, why you chose them, and if there was an RFP process.
Okay, we have the Hart Verity tabulation system. Prior to this one, we had the Hart voting system, and our new system is not an upgrade of the other one. It's a brand new system. And when we first bought Hart, they were certifying printers who could do their ballots. And, that means the weight of the paper, quite a few requirements for the ballots to be printed perfectly. And that's why we went with that printer. But Hart discontinued the program of certifying printers in 2020 because it was just too hard for them to manage to make sure that printers were using exactly what was required. They did not decertify this printer, but they stopped the certification program. So they're not doing that anymore. They now just give them each ballot printing guide with all of the necessary requirements that is supposed to be followed in order for the scanners to be able to read the ballots. But this printer we've used for 10 years. We have never had a problem. And we were shocked with this one. And I don't intend to ever use them again. And the county has protocol, and I did talk to 2 people this morning about that. And we will be working with them next week to see what we can do for the printer piece of elections, because we actually have an August 23rd election, which we need to order ballots for, but not from the printer we've been using.
Gotcha. And if I can just ask one more question. I understand that you guys ran in-house ballots through the voting machines, but my understanding is you didn't run a ballot from the printer through the voting machine. Do you usually do that? And if so, why didn't you do it this year?
Are you talking for the logic and accuracy test?
Yes.
Okay. The timeline is what gets in the way of us getting our ballots early enough from the printer to test them, number one. And we've just always printed our test deck in-house. That's the program within the Hart system, and we print our own. That way, you know what the total should be, and then you do the test deck, and the totals of it should match what it should be, because we know ahead of time what it should be. We've we've talked about that because if we had ballots printed by the external printer, we might have known about this problem. But it's the timing of it all that doesn't allow that sometimes because of the printer scheduling each of their customers, just different things. But we definitely would be looking at that. But even, with a printer, we have 447 ballot styles. If you're going to get samples from each ballot style to check, what happens if you get ballots from the first of the run that are really dark and good, but the end of that run would maybe be needing toner replaced or whatever? We wouldn't see the whole run of them. It could still be bad ballots. The ones we could see to begin with might be good, but maybe when the ballots are coming back from the voter, there's some that are bad. So.
Okay, next we'll go to Noah Cast with KTVZ in Bend. So Noah, if you could please unmute yourself.
Thank you. And I believe Sarah asked most of my question, but I'll kind of reframe it. So again, you are the county to use this printer. Was there something that differentiated or separated it from the other printers that most of the other counties seem to use?
As I said, the tally system vendor, which is HART, H-A-R-T, certified this printer. And that's why we chose them 10 years ago or more.
Okay, up next is Anthony Effinger with the Willamette Week. Anthony, please unmute yourself.
Hey there. Thank you. I have two questions. One, can you just tell me, is there card access required to both get into the building and then secondly, to get into the area where the votes are being counted?
Card access is required to get into the building. And our office, the whole office is like a maze. There's card badge access requirement at every door. And not all staff have all access. For instance, where the tally machines are situated, we call it the heart room because that's where we tally. Not everyone has badge access to that. I have it, my election manager have it, a couple people have that, but that's how it goes for the whole office.
And so who has access to the heart room?
I have access and the manager has access and I think one other person.
Who's that?
I'm trying to think of what her title is. She's the one that puts the voters pamphlet together. She updates our website.
But you, so far, you do or do not have evidence that somebody from the Schrader campaign was in the heart room?
Oh, no. They never can go in any of those rooms. If you come into our office, the big ballot processing room, which is very long, and there's different, stages of what happens. The tally room in that big room is locked. That door is badge access. The observers never go in that area, period. We have what is a long hallway along the whole distance from beginning and end to our processing room. And that's the only place that observers can be. They are never in our working areas, only in the observer area that is closed off with a wall and windows to the rest of it, and then a door with badge access for the workers to go in.
Okay. Well, final thing, in your entry in the ballot, when you were running, you said you don't take endorsements because they're political statements. But then on your Facebook page, one of your likes is Donald Trump is my president. We all know how Donald Trump feels about elections. And I'm just wondering how the voters of Clackamas County, given that, and given this allegation that, different people are getting different access to your building, how can they have faith that this is being done properly?
Well, again, the observer area sees everything we do. It has windows into every process. We also allow observers in our front office where the front office telephones are answered and the counter where you get replacement ballots. We have a camera on that, but observers are also allowed in there. And just one more thing with security. I'm not sure if you all know about this, but did you know that elections was placed under critical infrastructure in America back in 2017? And we have had Homeland Security do an assessment of our building with, just talking about each area and the security. And election staff is all that is allowed in here. We have our facilities director, and facilities, comes in and washes windows and does repairs, and they can be in our office. And then also the IT department, because computers need work done and sometimes it's easier when we're gone. But none of them can be in here anymore unless there is election staff. And I was planning to be here on a Saturday when they're washing windows, because our office it's not open to anyone outside unless there's one of us here to be watching what's going on. And it's not that we don't trust any of them, because I do, but it's what's required because of the security of elections and the security of the building.
Thanks.
Up next is April with OPB. April, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, hello. Earlier you said that you didn't act with the urgency that you should have. Could you explain why you didn't act with urgency?
I just didn't, I guess, think about that piece of it. I would now, but it didn't enter my head. There was a lot of things going on. I mean, I knew we were going to have to duplicate the ballots because it was too late to reprint and resend to the voters. But I would definitely act with or respond with urgency if something like this happened again.
So you didn't know that the ballots that were misprinted would cause an issue?
I knew they would cause an issue.
Then why didn't you act urgently?
I just didn't. I don't have any other reason but just to say that I didn't.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next up is Shane Dixon Kavanaugh with the Oregonian. Shane, will you please unmute yourself?
Hi there, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Wonderful. So I just wanted to double check. From what I heard earlier on, it sounds like there will not be a detailed timeline provided to the Oregon Secretary of State until next Monday. Is that correct?
Possibly.
What does possibly mean?
Well, there's workers back there now, and one of the workers from Monday talked about the timeliness of it in a meeting with the commissioners this week, if anyone picked up on that. And that was their team, but we need to have more than one team timed because, like I said, people do it at different rates of time.
So when can we expect to know what the timeline is from Clackamas County? What's the day?
Today is Friday. I said Monday. What happens if we don't meet the timeline? I mean, we can say what it would be, but there could be things that interrupt that. As one of the things which could happen is we can maybe have 100 workers scheduled and only 50 show up. I don't want that to happen, but there are things that do happen to interrupt schedules.
So from what I'm hearing from you right now is you can't tell us when there will be an official timeline presented. You're telling us right now that you can't even commit to a timeline once it's established. Why should Oregon residents or Clackamas County voters have any faith whatsoever that you will have these ballots counted by June 13th?
All I can say is that I said I would do it. But I did give a timeline. I said for sure we would have those times to the secretary by Monday, possibly earlier.
But you just said you couldn't commit to that.
I didn't say that. I said, what happens if it doesn't work that way? We have the goal of doing certain things the way that we want to do them. And I would.
Quickly, was it your goal to be in this situation right now?
The situation is really good today.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess final question, and I'm sorry, I don't think you've answered the question that I've asked about guaranteeing that you'll have this done by the 13th.
How can I guarantee? I will have it done by June 13th because that is the state law deadline for this election.
But so far, it appears that none of the other sort of goals or things needed to run a smooth election here has been achieved by your office.
We did not misprint the ballots. They came to us that way. It was an external item that happened.
But you were aware that the ballots were misprinted 2 weeks before the election and chose not to do anything about it until the days before the election.
Okay.
I'm just, I'm just still, I don't think we're hearing much assurance that you can actually get this done by June 13th.
I have really nothing more to say about that because I have said it will be done by June 13th.
And then, then final question, is there any reason why Clackamas County voters should not have more or greater concerns about election integrity in this county after what's happened this week?
It's really the voter who has the mind that thinks the way they do. I've had many positive comments come my way. Everybody thinks of things or expects things, I guess, in a different manner. Not everyone has the same opinion.
Can you, what do you mean by that?
Well, like I said, you're telling me that voters don't have any way of trusting that it will be done on time. But I'm also suggesting I've had many positive comments about this and people that are reading it different ways.
Okay, with that, we're out of time today. Just a few notes. County staff and election workers will be working all weekend processing ballots in preparation to begin the duplication process Monday, if not earlier. And the clerk is committed to ensuring a secure election with every vote counted by June 13th. If you have further questions, feel free to drop us an email. And thank you for joining us today.